Harley's back. She brought her Bat. King Shark tagged along for this ride. Waller's got a team. They look mean, but how many of them are gonna die?
Suicide Squad hit theaters and HBO Max a couple weeks back, and we have been itching like the weasel to talk to y'all about it.
So this week, the Beard and I sit down with Jay from Fandom4All and Chef Mantis of the Geeks of the Roundtable to discuss DC's latest cinematic adventure.
It's time for The Squad is Back in Town. Right after this, please stand by.
This is the Bear and the Beard podcast. Your hosts are just two nerdy guys talking nerdy things. This Nerdtastic Duo sits down every episode, sometimes with friends and guests, to explore a new topic related to nerd or pop culture. They may disagree or argue sometimes, and you may not always agree with them, but please remember, this show is mostly their opinion, with some research and facts added in along the way. And the most important goal is to have fun. Welcome to the conversation. Let's get nerdy with it.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bear from the Bear and the Beard podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my majestically bearded, faithful co-host, Bearded Brian Guy, the Beard. How you doing today, sir?
I am fantastic. I actually just finished watching this movie a few hours ago for the fifth time.
For the fifth time.
So you could say I've been looking forward to this episode.
Well, I think you would say that anyway, since you say that about every episode. Brosius Mayo, my guy, while we're at it.
Hail Brosius, my dude.
We are trying to bring that on back into the episodes. Those of you that know what that means, well,
basically
you heard
means
it.
Everything. Hi, hello.
Yeah, pretty much means
See ya.
everything. And a Brosius Mayo to our panel today. We are joined once again, as we were at the end of the Loki episode, by Jay, who we are calling honorary member of the Geeks of the Roundtable, Nerd Squatch, but he has his own podcast, Fandom4All, where he does movie reviews and stuff like that. So definitely go and check that out. We'll have links in the description. How are you doing today, Jay?
I am doing good. I am very excited to talk about this movie.
You were probably the biggest Suicide Squad fan that I know, and I know a bunch of nerds. So,
well, yeah, I try. I pride myself on my knowledge of these people. These
even wearing the shirt that Rick Flag wears in the later half of the second movie there. So
my
that's
mommy made this for me.
very, very cool. We're joined as once again also by a familiar face on our show from the Hungry Hungry Heroes episode and some of our Christmas episodes, fan casting the DC into the DCEU into the MCU, blah blah blah. Chef Mantis, my brother, how are you doing today, Colton, sir?
I am doing just peachy, my furry bear bro.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. So, guys, now y'all haven't listened to a new. We kind of changed our format a little bit. So y'all haven't listened to the new episode because we only did one before this one. Last week we did our Welcome to the Jam, and we are hoping that the new format's going to take off pretty well. And we're going to start every episode with Mama Bear's fun facts. So we're going to sit down.
She's always got some great fun facts for us. We're very glad to bring this back to the show.
Yeah, so we're going to read through these real quick, and we'll play that little intro music we have for that. Go ahead and...
I don't get paid enough. I don't get paid, period.
And now it's time for Mama Bear's Fun Facts.
That's it. That's all I know.
So we have Mama Bear's Fun Facts this week. First fun fact is that for the first movie, director David Ayer tried but lost and he actually hates the over-sexualized eye candy version of Harley Quinn and Suicide Squad. But he's also still being attacked for this decision in the film. He said, quote, look, I tried. I rendered Harley comic book accurate. Everything is political now. Everything. I just want to entertain. I will do better. End quote. So that's, I mean, you can't really, you can, but I mean, at least now we know he tried. He did try to not over-sexualize her in the first one, which we're going to get into in the second one, how she was not so much overly sexualized in the second one when we get into further into this episode. Second fun fact, Jared Leto took his practicing to a whole nother level when preparing to be the Clown Prince of Crime in Suicide Squad 1. He walked around the streets of New York and Toronto laughing to see what kind of laugh got a reaction from people. Quote, I got to the place where I would laugh and people would turn around like, who is this creepy guy behind me? So I didn't know that. Now I did know about the where they tattooed each other. They gave each other tattoos. Was that right?
Yes.
In the first movie.
And when Rick Flag surrenders in the nightclub, you can still see his tattoo right along his arm.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's very interesting. I didn't know that he kind of tested out his laugh. Next fun fact we have is that director David Ayer revealed a lot of his Twitter posts. One claiming that the original script for Suicide Squad was altered to remove elements of the New Gods when the connection to Justice League were cut out of the draft. Fans cried out for Warner Brothers to release the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, just like Zack Snyder did. It does not look like we're going to get that, however. So, and last fun fact here says James Gunn was fired from the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise at the right after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. 2 days later, Warner Brothers told him he could do whatever he wanted. Gunn handpicked every DC Comics character we see in the Suicide Squad and was given the authority to, quote, kill off any character. He said, don't get attached. Needless to say, the Suicide Squad is James Gunn's idea and creation that he was able to play with. So thank you, Mama Bear, for those fun facts to start out the episode. And that's actually, we're going to talk a lot about those moving forward.
I want to talk about that last one real quick because yes, a lot of characters died, and we don't have to name them all right away. We can get to that here next. But didn't you guys see the parallel to that, to like Deadpool 2? Like, we have these known actors that are very good actors playing characters that people really want to see, but they're all going to die.
The fact that the invisible guy, what was Vanisher or Invisiman or whatever his actual name was in Deadpool 2 was played by Brad Pitt. You had that like 10-second cameo for a cup of coffee hand delivered by Ryan Reynolds is the Hollywood rumor that's still out there circulating. No one's ever confirmed it, but supposedly that, it was amazing.
Yes.
And very talented characters too. Like all of those characters were actual X-Force characters at one point or another. And they were in the movie all of 10 minutes just to die.
And that was very true with this, because we have this beach scene right off the beginning of the movie. I mean, the movie does not drag its legs starting off.
No.
It jumps into this guy is getting the bomb in his neck, getting the quick debrief. Okay, mission, go.
Well, I love that Savant is built up as the protagonist for the first 3 minutes, and then he turns out to be a total coward. I mean, he is in the comics, but you know.
Right. And can we talk about the fact that he also plays Yondu?
Yes.
So I wonder if that was a personal favor to James Gunn. Like, you know, he comes over and plays in this movie just because James Gunn's directing it.
Well, Michael Rooker it's both Michael Rooker and Nathan Fillion are the two actors in this that are in every James Gunn project.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea Nathan Fillion was in the Guardians movies, though.
He is the big blue alien that Groot breaks his nose. Groot goes up in his nose.
That was, Oh, that's right. He was voiced by Nathan Fillion. That's right. I do remember that.
Check out the new meat. I'm gonna slather you up in Navi and jelly. Go to town.
And he filmed scenes for number 2 as Simon Williams, as Wonder Man, but he got cut.
Right. Wonder Man. Yeah.
Yep.
Which we might see in the future.
I thought he was going to be in WandaVision.
Nathan Fillion went and played Wonder Man in MODOK, the animated series on Hulu. So yeah. So it's definitely a good fit. The casting for this was epic.
Impeccable.
Peacemaker is John Cena.
And his name is John Cena! He's gonna get in the ring!
Harley Quinn is Margot Robbie. Then we got Pete Davidson playing Blackguard.
I
didn't know this until right this moment. I'm literally just finding this out. King Shark was Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Yep.
You didn't know
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Stallone played
Idris Elba being
was
incredible. I love Idris Elba. I didn't know the actress for Ratcatcher, but she was really good.
It's her
We
first
got
movie.
Nathan Fillion, of course, Rick Flag,
Detachable.
David. How do you say David's last name?
David Dasmalchian.
That's
That's
Mounchian.
Mouchian.
It's Polka Dot Man. I mean, Michael Rooker. I mean, you just keep naming. A lot of them were characters that died right in the first 10 minutes.
The bigger
Mhm.
names, yeah.
Dude, and I called it, man. Like I knew Pete Davidson was gonna get like obliterated within
It
the
didn't
first.
seem like he was meant for the movie, and I was wondering about that. Like, I love him, and so I was wondering, how are they having him as an actual DC character, and then he died? I'm like, that's how.
When
I
I
mean,
first saw
Black-
that, when I first saw that he had been cast, I'm like, all right, he's gonna die very quickly because he's a stand-up comedian that is best known for Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
Like that's what he is known for. So he's in there for a gag. It's
Well-
got to be. It's got to be a gag.
Well, I really wish they would have made a gag about this. Y'all know Blackguard's real name?
Mm-mm.
what's that?
His name is Richard Hertz, and he's often referred to in the comics as Dick
Yeah.
Hertz.
Dick Hurts.
Yep.
That's
Wasn't his-
hilarious.
It wasn't it that time. This time it was his face, but you know.
So now with casting, and we're not really talking about the first movie, but some comparisons can be made between the first and second. So the returning cast, the only ones we saw come back from the first movie was Captain Boomerang, Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, and that was it. And Waller,
when it comes to
of
squad
course.
members,
Yeah.
yeah.
But squad members, it was just Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, and Harley Quinn, and then of course Captain Boomerang dies during the beach scene. So now, Jay, you were telling us that currently in the comic books, if he dies holding one of his
Right.
boomerangs,
Apparently, I haven't read much of the Rebirth stuff, but many people have mentioned this to me and in reviews that if Boomer dies with a boomerang in his hand, it gives him a +1 in a Mario game. He gets to come back.
And the way he was holding it up, I was wondering if that meant something too.
Well, the smile meant something. The
Yeah.
smile.
He
as
smiled as
died
he was about to
meant
die.
something.
Yeah, and he was great. I mean, even just in the plane scene,
He's
giving that
perfect
one guy
casting.
some like, what kind of dog you suppose that is, mate?
yeah.
I'm
What
gonna
breed
go
do you
with
think that is? I
Captain-
don't know what kind of, is it a
Well,
werewolf?
breed-
You
I
sat me
don't-
next to a werewolf? Or TDK? Like, what's your name? It's TDK. It's me. Like, so your name is Letas? All names are
Full
just
name's
letters.
Lettuce, Mike.
Dickhead.
The javelin. I
Oh
I
my.
love javelin, but the javelin.
The weapon has more screen time than the character. That's the
Right,
best
right?
gag. That is the
Yeah.
best gag.
Oh my god! Like,
And if you
was way
follow-
more
Dude, Harley used it better than even he did.
If you
Yeah.
follow Flula on Instagram, he has completely turned into the character. Like, he has the costume still, and all he does is post his javelin. It is hilarious to see.
I wish
Should we talk
more.
about
I wish more
Vulcan?
actors would do that.
Yeah.
Did you
Bill
say Peter
Fish.
Capaldi? Is
What?
that what you just said? Did you say
No.
Peter Capaldi? Oh, I thought you did. I was going to say, are we talking Peter Capaldi right now? Let's
We
I
can
have
do it
not-
anyway. Peter Capaldi. Let's just jump ahead in the movie to so
Well,
their mission.
just still talking about casting. He was a very good thinker. So
Oh yeah,
that,
absolutely.
yeah.
And also the fact that other than a couple moments we were talking before the show, other than a couple moments, you really don't see his parallel to the Doctor. He
Right.
really is this evil character. There's a couple moments where like, oh, there's a little bit of his Doctor Who acting, but mostly he was just a terrifying little freak.
He looked like
Yeah.
Davros, too. It was almost like what would happen if the Doctor became Davros.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
He's a
So-
really great actor and a great guy. Met him at Florida SuperCon a few years ago. I love him.
Really?
Yeah, I saw you had a picture with him, and I'm super freaking jealous about it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm a little. Yeah, I love it. I love him.
Love it.
Yeah.
I just
Ooh,
wanna
Uh,
the, like,
so more parallels to the first movie
What's-
though. So we didn't have a lot of characters die in the first
in the
one.
first one for a
Like
movie called
Diablo and what was it?
Slipknot.
The Slipknot.
Slipknot.
Yeah.
Yeah, were the only two that died in the first one. So this one, right out of the gate, beach scene, everyone of Team One is dead, except we find out later Weasel and Rick Flag and Harley Quinn.
Yep.
I thought that was really weird. Like when everyone just started dying, I'm like, all right, James Gunn, like,
Right.
what are you doing? Some of these characters are pretty. Now, TDK deserved to be shot.
Yeah.
Like the fact that was like when they showed his power, where he just detaches his arms and sends them out and starts swatting people.
I
It's like,
thought
at
it was
least
gonna be
throw a
cool.
gun or something.
I thought it was going to be cool. As soon as his arms attach, I'm like, he's about to beat the out of him. He's going to sneak up. I thought it was going to be like the arms sneaking up and coming around and snapping your neck or something. I thought it was going to be cool, and it could have been. But nope, he just... Boop, boop, boop.
And my mother,
bro.
my mother
Just a
had to
gag,
look
dude.
at me during the first time we saw it, and she was like, "Is that really a character in the comic books?" And I shamefully had to respond, "Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is."
Yes, it is.
Bro, do you know what James Gunn did when he put Polka Dot Man in the movie? He literally went
Yeah.
online and looked up the villains with the most useless abilities. He was like,
Who's the
okay,
dumbest
make him
DC
look cool.
character? And the response
And made him awesome.
Yeah, and made him
Him
awesome.
throwing polka dots was deadly.
He's like the best. He's the most utilizable character in the squad. I mean,
Yeah.
most powerful at least.
Oh, he really does throw polka dots, people.
Well, I would say
And-
Nanawe gets more powerful because he can survive a lot more like damage.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking he might still be a baby or an adolescent. You know, we might not even know if he's fully grown.
True that. That's true. And another thing James Gunn did, if you watch it, you actually have to pay attention. Like for Brian, he might have noticed this, but for someone like Jay, who is a huge, like he actually knows these comic book characters, you like I noticed, and a lot of y'all probably noticed, like he filled up Bell Rev. James Gunn filled up Bell Rev with other DC characters. Like we saw Kaleidoscope in there. Yeah,
Who is only
Kaleidoscope.
in one comic book. Like she's only
Yeah.
in one comic, and he throws her and Zebra Man, Double
Mhm.
Down, and Calendar Man. Yeah.
It reminds me so
Basically-
much of our real or fake episode that we did back in season 1. Like if you had told me there is a character that's just covered in polka dots, you know, that's his suit, and he throws these polka dots at people, and I'd have told you that's a fake hero or fake character, period.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing with Kaleidoscope. You know, I would have told you, no, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. And
they
James
know how to
Gunn,
make
that
it
attention to
cool.
detail. Yeah.
Yep.
And talking about other characters that were just kind of thrown in there, Milton.
You Milton!
Let's talk
Milton.
about Milton,
Milton. R.I.P. to
honorary
that hero.
member.
I feel like people are treating him, he's the Harambe of the group. Like no one actually knows anything about him or cares. They just say that they do.
Yeah.
So R.I.P. to Milton. He's the real homeboy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Milton, I didn't know he was still with us, but he obviously was. And then Harley Quinn's like, who's Milton? I don't know. He was the joke of the who is Gamora, where's Gamora, why is Gamora? Like
Yeah.
I felt like that was James Gunn kind of bringing that joke over to, and there's a lot of similarities to I'm you know, not to say that it's not cool that they did it, but there's a lot of similarities. Like there's a lot of Avengers energy in
Rick and
Jay's
Morty
favorite
energy.
scene. Yeah, and Rick and Morty energy too. But like Jay's favorite scene, the hey there scene, where it's whited out, they're all walking up. That's very the first Avengers movie where they're doing the circular shot of all of them finally coming together.
But
And-
you know, in my opinion, of course, I think it because of the music and how it's utilized, it is a much better scene. Like it's so good. Ugh.
James Gunn
I-
is really good at picking songs for his movies
And he
too.
writes them into his script.
Mhm.
Like they'll play as exposition, and then when action begins, it's on a radio. It's over the intercom. It's really well done. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
All of the songs that you hear when people start talking, the song transfers to an in-scene song.
I agree with Jay. I think it's one of the best comic book movie scenes ever. Like,
And the
it's
action
really
that
that good.
follows is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. some of the most creative kills I have ever seen in a movie. Like Rick Flag shooting that shotgun through 2 people.
I got chills when
God.
Shark tore that guy apart.
Dude,
That was cinematically beautiful.
Beautiful. Yes,
I know,
it's
man.
so good.
The fact that they called the facility Jotunheim was already like,
Getting to hear Idris
I was
Elba
like,
say
what?
Jotunheim in
Yeah.
another universe. And of course, Jotunheim, like so much in this movie, it's a real place in the comic books. It's where their first mission is as a team. Great stuff.
And then Amanda Waller being so Amanda Waller, like speaking like a boss, like you don't with her. I got chills.
Not to say that she did badly in the first one. Like she played a good version of Amanda Waller in the first one as well. But you know, like we said before we were recording, she was a lot quieter, a lot more toned down. This is the Amanda Waller we wanted in the first one, and we finally got her.
Bear was mentioning before that a lot of how dark she is played into how light and more goofy the characters are. Like she's surrounded. It's the whole I am surrounded by morons. That is her whole aura.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
That's part of the problem with the first one, is that the movie's tone is so bleak that the human bleak character just feels like she fits in with everybody.
Yeah.
But Gunn playing how stupid all these other characters are, that's what makes her character come off as abrasive and different.
And the fact that she didn't have to say anything in the prison when we're introducing everyone.
What's he do?
What's he do? Throw polka dots at people?
He does?
He does?
Yeah.
And she just does not say a word. She just looked thinking to herself, I hate my job.
Yeah.
Or this is Peacemaker. He was raised from birth by his father, who was a mercenary and who's trained to kill people from the day he was born. It's like, are you having a laugh?
What I do.
He does the same thing I do. But better.
Oh man. And she finally had to get taken down a notch by her own team. And
By her cousin, no less.
That was
That's her
something.
cousin?
Yes,
Yeah.
Flo Crawley is Amanda Waller's cousin in the comic books. Yep.
Knocked her the out.
Yep.
And that was something that I really enjoyed about this movie, was watching those characters. Like overall, the movie it's a 10 out of 10. I'm not even going to try to say it was anything less, but that was a feature that we don't normally see. Like in the MCU, you don't see a lot of the behind the scenes of what's going on. That most of the time, the main characters are the Avengers. Whatever's going on with them is what's on screen the majority of the time. Now, we did see a couple of scenes like that, like in
Vulture and Homecoming.
With Vulture and Homecoming, with Agent Carter or Agent 13 in Winter Soldier. We saw some scenes like that where it's like Captain America's not the main focus of the shot. But for this movie, it was the team. Like they started out, they're having a laugh. They're doing a Deadpool on everybody. Like, I got money on this guy. He's going to die, blah, blah, blah. And then toward the end of the movie, I don't know if it was the one dude, the bearded guy with the glasses. What was his name? John or something like that?
John Economos. Yeah.
He was like, throughout the whole movie, he's like, you could see it was bothering him that Amanda Waller was going to send Bloodsport's daughter to prison to die just to get him to be on a team.
Right.
And it was bothering him.
Well, that character, he's the warden of Bel Rev, and he never really liked the idea of the Suicide Squad. So they really focused on the humanity. And Gunn cements his movies in the human characters or the regular people.
Right.
Like the
Making them
Xandari.
important characters. Like, if any of them died, it would have mattered to the story.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're what can normally be disposed as disposable characters. They were all main characters, everyone in that office.
Yep.
Yeah.
The one thing that I love most about this whole movie altogether was the characters, in that nobody was truly good, or nobody was 100% good, or vice versa.
Other than Rick. Rick stayed himself and up to death, but
he was.
Yeah.
He was
I would say Rick was the true, like, solid hero, 100% hero from beginning to end.
He was who he's supposed to be. Rick Flag is not the type of guy to let his boss put a bullet in the head of everybody in a room and just stand there. And he did that in Ayer's movie, and it's just not him.
Yeah, and as far as everyone else on the team, like nobody liked to kill others just for the sake of killing. Like they were human. Like
other than Peacemaker and
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport.
Well,
love killing.
It's debatable whether Bloodsport actually likes killing. I mean, he's just really good at it, but does he enjoy it is the question.
He doesn't look like he has remorse.
It's kind of like Deadpool. It's very Deadpool-esque to me. Is the whole, because a big misconception when it comes to Wade Wilson is he enjoys killing. No, he really doesn't. He's just really good at it. There's a difference. And then same thing, like I said, with Bloodsport, it's a question of does he actually enjoy it or is he just really good at it? Right. And was now, yeah, I see the lack of remorse in it, but like when he was competing with Peacemaker, the competition of death scene where they're working their way through the camp, yeah, I could see like amazing. I don't know if it was the enjoyment of killing people or if it was that he was doing better than Peacemaker.
Right, it was in a competition.
I don't think he enjoys it. I don't think he enjoys it in the way like he gets off by killing people. I think he is satisfied in finishing the task, and he doesn't care that he's killing someone.
Right.
I think Peacemaker though is the opposite.
Peacemaker's a serial killer.
He gets a thrill out of it. Except for Rick and Cena's acting in that scene, when you see the remorse in him, we were good.
We were on Game Chat with someone earlier, and they were talking about how he was a traitor. He was a traitor. Technically, he wasn't a traitor. He followed his mission. He was an asshole.
He was given a separate mission.
He was given a separate mission, and he is the kind of person who follows through with his mission. If he would have not killed him, then he would have been a traitor.
Yep.
Right.
And
peace at any cost was his line. Yeah. He says, "I want peace at any cost." If I don't care how many women, children, all that. Yeah, but peace at any cost is it's a very black and white way to think. First of all, but if that's what his mission is, like, to be honest, he toward the end of the movie when he says, if that information gets out that America has been doing all of this, it's going to cause an international incident. It would be one thing for Starro to just get out and it be this thing that was there. They can cover up how he came to be there and all this other stuff. But if it ever actually gets found out that America teamed up with this country to do this, to experiment on humans, and all, peace is shattered. There's no way you're ever going to reestablish it.
And that's part of his mental illness.
War. It's like the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Needs of the one.
Right. Yep. Yes, this is a bad thing they've done, but nothing is more valuable than keeping the peace to him.
Well, those last lines that he was spoken to by Rick Flag are going to play a big role in his development in that show.
Oh, yeah.
In his spinoff.
Because he respected him. Beyond respected him. And all he said to him, his last words,
"Peacemaker. What a joke."
Well, his helmet, part of his mental illness is that he thinks his helmet traps the souls of the people he kills. So I guarantee you, Kinnaman might have a voice role in the TV show. That Rick Flag will come back as a voice.
That would be really interesting. Yeah.
So, he actually hears the voices?
Yes.
Yeah.
He hears them talking to him.
That's crazy. That was
Charlton Comics, everybody. Yep.
Talking about some other weird kind of stuff like that. Let's talk about Bloodsport's rat phobia.
Y'all know what I think about Bloodsport and what he really means. So yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that he's this big bad character, and very, very early on, it's like,
stop with the rats.
Think about rats. It's like,
and then Amanda Waller being like, "You didn't tell me you had a rat phobia."
I'm an assassin.
I'm an assassin. I'm not going to let you know my liabilities. You bitch.
Yeah, but we actually found out that when he was younger, whenever he disobeyed his father or whatever, he his father
tortured by rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trauma is related to that.
Right. And that whole ending is him. That's the closing of that part of him. It's really well done.
very gently going to pet the rat that is on his lap. I love it.
And he's not fully okay with it, but he's like, I can do it.
Yeah.
Sebastian
also,
very well done CGI rat, by the way. I do have to point that out.
Too. She was such a great character.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she's honestly the only one who I don't even understand why she's a villain. Other than obviously she had robbed something, but she's a really kind-hearted individual.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that the rats scare him, and in the fight against Starro, when she's sending all the rats, she puts her arm over him so that he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
because she could tell that he's having a flashback.
Right. And part of her story with her dad really leans into that. You know, that Bloodsport became this surrogate for Taika, for her dad.
Yeah, I was just fixing to say, while we're talking about her dad, that was Taika Waititi playing her dad, right? Okay.
Yes.
See, I thought so. I just wasn't sure.
That was Taika.
And that's another trope that I like that it's happening, because that happens in the show. We see that where a character will have a number 2 by their name or something. They have Ratcatcher 2. That's a common DC thing for the next person to actually have a title like that.
Yep.
There was a Ratcatcher 1, now there's Ratcatcher 2.
Right.
Yeah, Marvel doesn't really do that. Like anytime, like the second Green Goblin was not Green Goblin 2, he was the Hobgoblin. He changed the costume just enough because he had stolen the tech from Osborn, and so they try to come up with different names. And I've even read in the encyclopedia on some of them, it's like, this dude sounds like a carbon copy of this other dude. And it's like, that's because he either stole the idea from and wanted to be like Electro and Shocker, not the same person, but similar powers. It's definitely a DC thing to put a 2 after someone's name and go, this is the second rendition. And I like that. I like that very much, especially
it's a nice, unique thing DC has. And DC's actually doing good now. I've talked to both of you about this. I think that DC actually has hope after this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I think they're doing is they're saying, we're done trying to build this huge cinematic universe like Marvel, because we're failing at it massively. These movies are sucking. What we're going to do is we're just going to say the DC world and everyone in it, it just exists. It's here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start telling the stories.
Yes.
And if they focus on that, they have a lot of chance of getting more of my money.
And we talked about this in the chat group that we were all in when we were talking about like recording this episode, is if they would move, and I didn't think about this until you brought it up to me when you had seen the movie before me, which that was some weird thing that happened. Like normally I'm right there with you guys on watching these movies. I was delayed, to be honest. So I was the last one to see it. But when you brought it up to me, you were like, I think they're actually starting to do like this whole, we're just going to start telling stories, kind of like they do with their animated movies. Some of their animated movies link together. They're not really sequels, but something that happened in this movie might be brought up in this movie later on. And I started making the connection of, there is a difference between cinematic universe and shared universe.
Yes.
And if they start going towards shared universe, if DC would just start making shared universe movies, I think they would do so much better. Like, they never brought up Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey even happening. But if they would let us know with one little thing, if they'd let us know in the second Suicide Squad movie that movie happened,
but we do know it did because
they
she's
slightly
broken up.
Reference it in the beginning,
but not so much. Basically, what they do is you can, in your own mind, you can either say, well, I didn't like the first Suicide Squad movie, so I'm going to say, in my mind, watching this, that first one didn't happen. The Suicide Squad exists, but that first one didn't happen. You can say that, and nothing in the story contradicts that. You can secure that universe for yourself. It's not the same kind of canon like in the MCU. But in the same way, there's enough reference to where you can say, I loved the first Suicide Squad movie, so this is a sequel. It's both. It's a reboot, it's a sequel, it's all of it. It's what you want it to be. They're changing what canon means, and I'm okay with that for the DC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're better off doing a shared universe instead of trying to catch up with Marvel, because we knew this, and this is part of your DC rant that, I mean, if any
I've gone on it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. If any episode was worthy of the DC rant that Brian gets on, it's this one. But to sum it up is, and we've summed it up before, you can't try to be Marvel and start a universe. It's just never gonna work. You can't do both.
This was such a comic book movie, and I loved it so much.
It was the most comic book movie we've ever seen.
And Harley Quinn being so Harley Quinn, she got her own like little mini movie in this movie.
Right.
And it was so like more of a continuation of her story after Birds of Prey, where she's broken up a Joker and she's trying to find her way. And now she found someone she actually likes. This guy who is treating her like a princess. And up until the moment he reveals, I'm going to kill children, she's like, okay, red flag. And she fucking kills him.
Yep.
Because I can't believe that gun had a bullet in it either. Like, I was right there with her on that one.
Well, I had a friend tell me yesterday at lunch, and he was like, I feel like any female Suicide Squad member could have filled that void, and I wouldn't have cared. Absolutely not.
No, that was Harley, especially the way she escaped. I mean, they're building up this rescue mission for her, and she doesn't even need it because she Batmans the out of this guy. He turns around and she just opportunity. And that's a common thing with Harley Quinn. The way Harley Quinn is supposed to exist, she's never in a situation she can't get out of.
Yep.
If she's a prisoner to someone, she's only got to stay there for as long as she can think of something real quick. And she's patient.
And
like
she's
she
an
acted all
acrobat.
passed out. And she's an acrobat, and she knows how people think because she's a fucking psychiatrist.
Right. She went to school. People forget this. I mean, she went to school.
We talked about it a lot in the woman's planning episode. We talked a lot about how Harley Quinn is she's one of those Batman villains that actually has a doctorate. Like, she actually went to school. She her name is Dr. Harleen Quinzel for a reason. And Joker twisted her into this other thing. And now we're seeing in these movies, this movie, Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey, the after effect of her getting away from Jared Leto's Joker.
Well,
and it's a lot better.
I think the best character development I've seen really for a character is how she's wearing the blue and red in the first one. Birds of Prey, they break up. She's in that moment and doesn't wear anything related to what she used to. And now she's accepted who she is and wears the red and black again. Yeah. And it's just really, really cool that she's wearing it for herself.
She is Harley Quinn. She may have been made into a villain by Joker, but she is her own villain.
Yep. And very capable of it.
She's honestly more deadly than Joker, I would say.
And
she says so in
I'm pretty sure we plugged it in the woman's planning episode, but gotta plug the HBO series, the Harley Quinn.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Definitely go watch it if you haven't seen it yet. It's definitely worth a watch.
I love Clayface in that.
Alan Tudyk is so good in that role. Oh, he's so good.
I loved King Shark in that one, which I love King Shark all representations. I think we should talk about Nanawe.
Yes,
I couldn't remember if we talked about it in the episode or if we talked about it before the episode, because we've had a conversation tonight about Nanawe.
So a lot of people are hating on the Nanawe from this Suicide Squad. He's fat, he's stupid, he's all this other stuff, and we are not in that group. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you right now. At least I'm not. We loved it. I love every rendition.
What was your thoughts
I ever get?
Dude, he was one of the highlights of the movie for me. And after seeing it in theaters, I told my buddy next to me, I was like, yeah, so what did you think? And he was like, bro, that movie was trash. I was like, okay, we can't be friends.
But he was like, Suicide Squad?
Yes.
He thought it was trash?
But apparently.
Then he's not a nerd.
I have a friend who said she won't watch it because she thinks it's a ripoff of the first one. I'm like, if anything, the first one's a ripoff of this because the first one you go sit in my garbage can.
I know.
I think
he said the only saving grace of that movie was King Shark, and just because his comedy.
I really hope James Wan brings him back for Aquaman 2. I really think he could find a niche there.
That would be interesting.
But they also just announced a Superboy project for HBO Max, so that's a possibility too.
Okay. Yeah.
Wait, it's going to be in the same universe as Titans, though? The same guy from...
Is it? I don't remember. I hope not, because I'm not a fan of that show, but...
It's it's not for everyone, but I definitely think they should keep the same actor from
He's good.
season 2.
He's good. I haven't seen the first 3 of season 3 yet, but I have heard that they're not great.
Yeah, it's very divisive for me. I'll just say that.
I somebody was like, they just fail the Bat family so hard, and I was like, oh no.
I haven't read it yet, but if you were at Free Comic Book Day, this is one that I picked up. It was the
I got one.
Suicide Squad King Shark Special Edition. So I'm hoping this is good. I was paging through it while we were talking about King Shark. It looks like it's based off of the movie version as close as possible, but also the comic book version. So it looks really good so far.
Yep. I picked one up yesterday. I had to. I was dressed as him.
Yeah. We got to put a picture of that cosplay right here. Just a reminder for editing.
Yes, that was
your
good.
Nanawe Incognito cosplay there,
Thank
Jay.
you.
Did love that so much.
Thank you.
But I love the bar scene. I mean, we talked about it a little bit after the bar scene of their like escape, which was awesome. The death touch. But I love just the bar scene at first, like
it's
them
a
all letting
meaningful
loose.
scene. Yeah.
Because they had it in the first Suicide Squad, and the first Suicide Squad movie had some pros, and one of those was having a moment where all of these villains kind of just kicked it, let loose, and had a drink.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that was in this one as well, and it was even better. Like they had some dancing moments while they were waiting on Gaius to show up. It was so beautiful to just watch them just vibing, and then them ordering. They had to order for the rat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's two Guardians cameos in that scene.
Yes,
really?
I noticed Mantis.
The dancer is Palm Clementine, is Mantis. And for a fraction of a second, like not even a second, Dave Bautista's in there. Because he was originally Peacemaker, but he dropped out to go film Dune.
Dude, he would have been so great as Peacemaker.
I really have a hard time comparing the two because I think John Cena played Peacemaker perfectly. So yeah, but I think they would have both been A+, like A++ renditions for sure.
And then John Ostrander, who wrote the comic book that I love, is the man who implants the bomb in Savant's neck.
Right. The cameos were great. And talking about that bar scene, that's another one of those like, what did the first movie do that the second movie did right, they did wrong? I can't really say whether it was right or wrong, but the main difference between those two bar scenes is this one is at technically the beginning of the mission. It's before the actual mission takes place. So it's more of a camaraderie thing. Whereas in the first movie, it was after a failure. They were all kicking themselves. They were down, and then they decided to join up, and which, like Jay said earlier, such a bleaker movie. Like all of the aspects were already so bleak. That's why Amanda Waller's bleakness kind of filled in. That was a Joker movie, to be honest. Like if they'd have had more Joker and just called it a Joker movie, it would have been a Joker movie. Like to me, anyway.
At least
I don't want a Jared Leto Joker movie. Don't manifest this.
I don't hate him as the Joker, actually.
I don't hate him either. I cosplayed the character.
It's different. But okay, the first time I ever saw Jared Leto Joker, I was like, this is garbage. I hate this. It's on everything that's Joker. It can go burn in a trash can. I've grown from that view to think I actually kind of like it.
Justice League helps a lot.
Justice League does help a lot. And the other thing my opinion of Jared Leto's Joker was similar. Like when I first saw it, I was like, dude, what is this? But then I was glad he wasn't in the movie a lot. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, this is fine. But then I started thinking about it, especially with Snyder Cut's Justice League. And when I started looking at like, if they would go back and show us more of Jared Leto's Joker being obsessed with Batman, like that, more of that obsession, I think that would make his character play a lot better. Because it was like he was crazy just to be crazy. And one of the things we love about Joker is that he's crazy about Batman.
And
he's in love
and I
with
love
Batman.
how they do that in the Harley Quinn show.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a competition.
Well, there are so many people that look at me like I'm crazy, and y'all may as well, but I think it's pretty clear that it's a one-sided romantic interest, too. I mean, he very much loves Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And,
He's not ready to accept that in himself, so he plays it off as a "you're my enemy."
Yep.
But 100%, he wants Batman's attention.
It is
He
a
wants Batman
psychotic
to say,
romantic
"You're
interest.
doing so awful. You're doing so awful." That's what he wants from Batman.
Yeah.
And they do it better in the Lego Batman movie than I think I've ever seen represented in media.
Right. It's one of those things like if you could do all of the things that they've done in all the different forms of media where they got it right. Like was it The Dark Knight? No, which one was it? It was Arkham Origins. Arkham Origins.
Yeah.
We have in the video game where you play through it as Joker a little bit. Where it's like realizing why he fell in love with Batman, essentially. And then again in Arkham Knight, where Joker's trying to take over Batman's body, it's that there cannot be both of us. There's going to be only one. But while there is both of us, let's enjoy the ride, kind of thing. Like, there's tons of instances in the comic books and other forms of media where he gets pissed off at people for trying to kill Batman. It's my job to kill Batman. It's not yours.
He kills the Scarecrow in the Harley Quinn show because he unmasks him.
Yeah. Because now you've ruined the fun of it. Where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce?
Dude, let's appreciate Alan Tudyk's voice work, man. He was phenomenal as Joker.
As Joker and Clayface. He does really good in that.
I have a question for all three of you.
Okay.
Yes. Fire away.
Which character's death actually surprised you the most? Like when it happened, you're like, "Oh."
Who we start with?
Let's start with Chef Mantis.
Yes.
I would say Captain Boomerang, just because like he was a major character in the first one, and I thought he was going to be in future films as well because he's one of the Flash's main rogues.
Right.
And he could be withholding that boomerang if the legends are true.
I mean, we did talk about that being in the comic books. He might be being able to be resurrected through his boomerang or something like that. So we'll see.
That would be an interesting take. But yeah, I didn't think Polka Dot Man's was all that surprising because
framing.
Like as soon as he shot the polka dots and it took Starro's limb away.
Like out,
like,
and then
knew
they
he was
zoom
gonna go
out.
back.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised about his death until I was surprised that it happened, but I wasn't surprised by the moment that it panned over to him saying, "I'm a hero," and just looking over at him.
Right.
In that moment, it was staring on him too long, having fun, that something had to happen.
And it's too far away. The
Cinematic.
shot is pulled back so that the arm can come down.
And so it just looked like something's about to happen. But before that, I didn't think he was going to die.
Yeah, no, before that shot, and we talked about this before recording, but that means that he actually he saw it as his mother was killing him, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of horrible when you think about it, but yeah.
It's your mom!
Bear,
So-
what death shocked you?
To be honest, it was Rick Flagg's. Like I saw him coming out on top of that. Like I saw him
He gets the
not
upper hand.
getting the drive, but also not dying and getting out of the structure. And then John Cena's character. Now, I will say while I'm on this subject, if you haven't seen the after credit scene, because some of us skipped over it at first. I know Brian, I think you said you missed it one of the times. A lot of people didn't know it was going to be there. That didn't surprise me when John Cena shows up still alive at the end.
I thought it was Rick too.
Because they talk about his
Exactly,
heart.
that was my thing. They were talking about his heart.
His heart was still
So
beating.
that's why it surprised me that even at the end of the after credit scene, it was Rick that died and not John Cena.
Yeah.
Rick Flag and not Peacemaker.
Because they have to do with Peacemaker, basically.
But it could have been a prequel. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But Rick Flag's death definitely surprised me the most too. And I honestly, for a second, thought, okay, I don't care that he got stabbed. He's still going to survive. And then, literally, as I thought that, it panned over to the next shot where we
That
saw it
Mortal Kombat
going
X-ray
into his heart. And
fatality.
I'm like, why?
It's the best thing.
That is exactly what I thought and said. Like, I didn't say it out loud, but in my head, I was like, that's NetherRealms right there, because NetherRealms is owned by Warner Brothers. And they started doing that in the Mortal Kombat games where they show you the X-ray attacks, where they actually show you what's happening, like when the weapons impale and stuff like that. And as soon as that shot came on the screen, I was like, all right, NetherRealms, geez, I didn't need to see that in a movie.
Fatality.
But like that's how they solidified that he was actually dying. Because the main character that in a normal circumstance you wouldn't be sure if he was going to die or if he was just going to be wounded.
But
that was them saying, "No, we're telling you right now, he's dead."
And it has a lot to do with his character. You know that it was his heart, specifically his heart, that got destroyed. But has everybody mentioned their character, or did I? Yeah,
you and Brian haven't. So,
Brian, you go.
Rick Flag was for me too. That's why I was talking.
Yeah,
Rick Flag surprised me.
I'm gonna side with Colton on this one, Chef Mantis. I was rather shocked that Boomer. But I will say that from Gunn interviews in the past, where he mentions he doesn't really like to work with popular characters, I kind of just assumed that maybe Boomer would. But the minute that Abner or Polka Dot Man says that his mom tried to turn them into superheroes, my mind immediately went to the "I'm a superhero" scene from the trailer, and I was like, that's it. That's the closing of his story. He's gonna bite it. So I expected Polka Dot Man coming. Yeah.
I did think it was a very interesting way that they did his power, like the whole "if I don't expel the polka dots twice a day, you know, I die." Yeah,
that was an original idea too. I thought it was well done.
And it's and the makeup, there's set photos of him with that makeup on. It really lit up. They had LEDs under his prosthetics and everything. It was really, really cool.
John Cena played conservative so well. Like, not to get political, but I know a lot of. I say that because I live in a town full of a bunch of people who have his attitude, not his strength, but his kind of attitude. And it was very like, I'm an American, I think I know what's right kind of mood.
Yes. Well, on a similar
not
note,
the attitude where they would suck an ocean full of dicks, like, would they?
Beach
on
full
a
of dicks.
similar note, I didn't know whether or not to talk about this, but it's not inherently political. But my thing about Bloodsport, that I definitely think Bloodsport is an analogy for James Gunn and the path that he took to get to this movie, because he got his competition's a conservative asshole. James Gunn got canceled on Twitter by a group of conservatives that led to him getting fired. And then he has a problem with rodents, which represents Disney. So I really think Bloodsport is a joke about James Gunn's path to making this movie.
You're actually opening my eyes to this. Like, if that's not true, that's the only way I'm going to see it from now on now, actually, now that we think about it. So,
that is how I saw it. So I'm glad.
Other little things, just as we're kind of getting toward the end here, some other talking points that we didn't really touch on. Now, I touched on this with Mama Bear when we were watching it. When Harley Quinn was captured, and she tricked the electric guy, the guy that was having too much fun with the stun rod. Can we all just take a moment to imagine how much strength that took? Like, not only to pull herself up, but to pull up a dude underneath her that weighed probably twice as much as she did, and then break his neck with her thighs.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, she is the kind of person, she's never in a situation that she cannot get out of. And if you think that you've captured her, you're underestimating her.
Right.
And you're going to die for
probably the most underestimated character of the Suicide Squad when we really think about it. And that's what made that whole scene where she walks up on them as soon as they're fixing to breach so much more fun. It's like, what are y'all doing? It's like, we were coming to save you. Oh, you were coming to save me? Well, I'll go back inside and you can do your plan. That was really cool.
That's so patronizing.
I know you said we're getting close to the end, but like I asked pre-show, I want to know some characters that you guys want to see appear in a sequel, possibly.
Definitely Sebastian.
Yeah, Sebastian needs to come back. I
Okay,
don't
but
really,
Deadshot.
as far as the people that are still alive at the end of this one, if they do a continuation, then I of course want to see Bloodsport come back. I want him to come back on his own terms, though. I don't want him to be like having to still use that whole like, well, I bought us, we walked away free, obviously. So I want him to come back on his own terms. I want Ratcatcher to not come back. And that's not to say that she wasn't a great character. I think she had her hero moment. And I want them to do like a she's off being a hero now. Not she's not part of this Suicide Squad anymore because
See
like
her in
Brian
future
said,
movies,
she
just
didn't
not in the
need
next
to be
Suicide
a
Squad.
villain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
See, that's how I feel about Bloodsport. I don't want Bloodsport to be in the next Suicide Squad because of the fact that means he's in prison again.
I want him to be the Rick Flag of this one. I want him to be the next
Like
Rick
the field
Flag.
leader.
Yeah,
I
the
do
field
feel
leader
like
that
they're
doesn't have a
hyping-
bomb in his neck.
I do feel like they're hyping Peacemaker up to be the field leader.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, as I mentioned to somebody else, it's better than Bronze Tiger because Bloodsport's origin story, having known Flag before,
Yeah.
and that's Bronze Tiger.
Yeah.
That's pretty
And
much all it
also,
was.
I think Amanda Waller learned through Rick Flag that she wants someone who will do the mission to the
Right.
T and not care about morals,
Yep.
because that's her mindset anyways.
He wants a
Yeah.
completionist.
And that is John Cena's character to a T.
To a T. He says
I
it. I follow
I
through.
also want Deadshot to come back. I
Yes.
loved Will Smith as Deadshot, don't get me wrong, but I've seen other iterations of Deadshot that are just as good.
Can I
So
offer a
if they do
fan
like a face altering technology or something where he got plastic surgery to get away from a Waller, but then still get caught, I think that would be cool.
Or you
I
could
would-
totally reboot the character. I mean, if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, if
I
it's
wanna
shared
see Pedro
universe and not a
Pascal
sequel,
play
yeah.
him. I think Pedro Pascal would be a damn good Floyd Lawton.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, that'd be really good, actually.
dang guys, why don't we bring up Deadshot in the fan casting? Damn it.
Well, I don't think we had him, but he wasn't a main character. But we're gonna do another one of those eventually too, is the fan casting the DC characters as MCU people and
Honestly, though,
and vice versa.
my whole theory about what the DC universe is doing now, the first time I thought maybe they were doing that was actually at the end, one of the end credit scenes of Justice League Snyder Cut, when you had Lex Luthor and Deathstroke, all of them on a boat. Like, it really felt like this universe just exists now. These characters are moving forward with their plans, and all of it is just happening.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a behind the scenes video for Squad on HBO Max that shows concept art in the background where Bloodsport's character was originally Deathstroke. That was the character that
The Deathstroke they
wanted
got
to
for that end credit scene, like, it was just one end credit scene.
Yeah,
but
Joe
I
is so
loved
good.
it.
Yeah, Joe's really good.
Well, all right, guys. Well, what did
Chef
you want?
Mantis might
You
have
had something
one
else,
thing.
Chef?
Right. I just wanted to make sure, like, we can all agree that Sebastian the Rat was the real hero of Suicide Squad, right?
Well, I mean, as
But-
Jay said in the chat, we love when the rats are the heroes of the movies. So
Right.
just like
Because
in
if it weren't for Sebastian, Ratcatcher wouldn't be there at the end to take down Starro. Because
That's
if
true.
he hadn't have warned Bloodsport in the woods before King Shark ate Ratcatcher,
Or saved
would've
her
been-
from Peacemaker.
yeah,
Because he does save her from Peacemaker too.
and the whole let's crawl this way
I
to
thought
get away
she
from
was gonna bite
Starro.
it.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
thought she was gonna bite
That's
it.
what I was
Had her,
saying.
I didn't think until the scene cut away. I thought, okay, she's.
Yep.
Yeah.
And another thing, real quick, that I think is really great, that 8 minutes earlier bit that they do right there,
Mhm.
it's exactly 8 minutes up
Yes.
to the present point. It really is an 8-minute flashback.
I
It's
love
Really?
all the transitions they did. The Operation
yes.
Jotunheim becoming
Starro
Operation
versus
Harley,
the Suicide
Starro
Squad.
versus the Suicide
It's
Squad.
Scott
Like,
Pilgrim.
every time, from the
Yeah,
beginning,
that's
it was
tough
as soon
to
as
fight.
what's his name, Savant, his head popped, and the blood
Warner
was
Brothers
Warner Bros.
Pictures.
Pictures
It's
presents,
so grim.
Mhm.
and then
so-
the Suicide Squad, and like every time the words popped up, it felt very comic book like to me.
Yeah.
It didn't take
This
me out of it either.
100%, to sum everything up, was the perfect comic book movie.
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse was better as a comic book movie. I'm just saying.
For live action.
because it was animated, but for live action, yes. Yeah.
For live action. Okay.
I was actually going to say, comparison wise, if you go and watch, because I didn't know this, but I've been watching this guy, Canadian lad. He watches movies at like 0.25 speed.
Yeah.
So that he
I've
can
heard
pick
him,
up all the little small things. And he did that for Into the Spider-Verse. And much like with those transitions you're talking about, like the meanwhile with Harley and the 8 minutes earlier and the, Operation Jotunheim, no, Operation Harley and all that stuff, it was very comic book bannery. Like they don't actually see it. The characters don't actually see it. It's for the viewer. It's for the reader when it's comic book wise.
And
they
Marvel
did
couldn't
that
do it.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Like, I'm not on MCU at all, but the MCU could never get away with that kind of stuff.
Right. It's like
the
these
kind of
little
universe that it
annotations
Mhm.
that appear in the bottom of a panel. That's what it's like.
Right.
Yeah.
Deadpool should start doing that, though.
Yes.
MCU can't get away with it because the problem with that is that the MCU is establishing their Marvel Cinematic Universe as an actual universe.
Yes.
As a real
They
world.
know
I'm
they're
not
comic
on them
book
saying
characters.
that.
Yeah, no.
I'm just saying that is something that they couldn't do. And I love the MCU
should,
for
though,
its
like you
own.
said.
Deadpool should.
Yeah,
And
Deadpool should.
could.
Yeah.
Deadpool could.
But yeah, other than that, guys, anything else before we really wrap it up here? Because we're right at an hour.
I think I got it. Yeah.
Oh, I did want to mention one thing, the Gore Factor, because I remember, Jay, you were talking to us about maybe going to see it in theaters, but then you decided not to. If you haven't seen it yet, which I don't know why you listened to a whole episode of us talk about it, but if you haven't, but if you're just trying to kind of get a sense of what the movie's all about before you go and watch it, great, thank you. We like that you and I guess appreciate our opinion. I will say, if I had gone to see it in theaters, I think I would have been a little grossed out. Like, and that's coming from a dude that normally doesn't mind that kind of stuff. But for this movie, it was very realistic, very gory. I think I would have had a problem.
I saw it a second time in theaters. And I can say that because of the comedy, it's really not as bad as I thought it was going to be in a movie theater. I still think the worst thing, and it's split second, but I still think Blackguard has the worst fatality to witness.
Yeah.
And then when they go back on it during the opening credits. But other than that, nothing's really too
I also thought the guy whose head got cut off, that was pretty gory.
See, I saw Marvel Zombies kind of vibes in that, because in the Marvel Zombie comic books, Cap is missing the top cap of his head, and you can see his exposed brain, and that's actually how Red Skull kills him. He just reaches in and rips it out. Which was when I saw that, I was just like, comic book, so whatever. But yeah, that. So if you haven't watched it in theaters and you haven't watched it on HBO Max, but you were listening to this to get an opinion of the movie before you go and watch it, I will warn you, there's a lot of gore. Like the Starro scene at the end, that grossed me out a lot too.
The eye?
Yeah, inside the eye with all the rats.
Inside the eye didn't. The inside the eye didn't get me. It actually looked, even though it was like
aesthetically pleasing.
It was aesthetically pleasing. It
pretty.
looked like she was in a pool of something.
No, but when the rats started eating through all the veins and crawling inside the veins, and the red starts showing up, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a little.
The lab, the Project Starfish lab is rough too.
The lab's rough too. Really.
Oh, the one that the detached face.
Oh my god. Oh yeah.
Things that make you go.
And you can see the teeth
gore.
It's just so gross. Oh,
well, just to round it out here with some facts, Suicide Squad #1 made $746.8 million to date in the box office, and Suicide Squad, the second one, this one, because it is actually just called The Suicide Squad, has already made $72.2 million, which is super disappointing because they've already spent $185 million to produce this film. But that is as of right now. It's only been out for a couple of weeks, so we'll see what it does. But opening weekend, that's all it made.
And $100 million of that money went to marketing alone. They made this movie for $85 million.
It's the first DC movie to be advertised as, hey, come watch us use a guy that made a Marvel movie make one of our movies.
Yep.
They were actually able to use Marvel as a marketing tool, which was pretty interesting.
And totally on character for James Gunn.
Well, before we end it here, let's do our Talk Nerdy segment for this week. Let's go ahead and roll that intro music.
Awesome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Each episode, the Bear and the Beard ask a question that they want your input on, along with sharing comments, suggestions, and other things they have already collected. They love to hear from their fans, so let's get nerdy with it.
All right. So as we said in the episode previous to this, and as our as the outro music for this will say, is that we are now asking. So we're going to ask you a question every episode to just kind of get you started. Give it to us. You can give it to us in comment form on Facebook. You can write it into us, whatever. But we want everything you got that's nerdy. We want your cosplay photos. We want your TikTok videos that are fan theories you want our opinion on. We want everything nerdy. Send it to us. And the outro music will tell you how to do all that. We do have a Talk Nerdy segment for this week for someone that wrote in something to us. And while I'm pulling that up, I want to ask our two guest hosts, since we talked about it in our last episode, to comment on our Talk Nerdy segment from last episode. Who was your favorite Looney Tune? Because our last episode was all about Space Jam 1 and 2. And we'll start with Chef Mantis. Who was your favorite Looney Tune?
That is a tough one. I mean, does it have to be like, the mainstream Looney Tunes? Like, I can't say
anything Looney Tune.
I can't say Jerry from Tom and Jerry.
I mean, he technically wasn't a Looney Tune, but I could give you that he was a Hanna-Barbera character. And if you liked him more than you liked the Looney Tunes, then yeah, I'll give you that.
Well, I mean, since we're just going off of Looney Tunes, I would say the guy with the short cowboy dude with the mustache.
Oh, Yosemite Sam.
Yosemite Sam. Yosemite Sam.
A very good character. Yeah, I really enjoyed him too. Yosemite Sam, shoot the ball. Like, do. Not what I meant. Jay, who was your favorite Looney Tune?
Okay, I promise I'm not going to go on a tangent, but I can tie it into the Suicide Squad as well, so bear with me. James Gunn's original idea for this t-shirt was Wile E. Coyote holding a sign saying help. But it felt too meta because that's a Warner property. Mm-hmm. But Gunn is also making a Wile E. Coyote movie about Wile suing Acme. That's a movie that's coming, and Wile has always been my favorite. And so I feel like good tie-in to the episode now, but yeah, Wile E. Coyote.
I can see that.
In our last episode, him and I also answered this question. And I kind of had a cop-out answer because I couldn't choose between two. Because separately, I don't like either one of them separately. But together, Wile and Roadrunner.
Yeah.
Like together as a unit, they are his favorite Looney Tune. And I said that I always liked Sylvester. Sylvester the cat was probably always my favorite. So he was pretty cool.
Oh my God, bro. Like, okay, so, we're talking about Sylvester and like his main nemesis is Tweety. I kind of made a joke about like a Ricker's character at the beginning killing Tweety with that the ricochet ball.
Oh yeah,
Jim Lee.
It's like they killed Tweety. It was so
Jim Lee said that was a reference to Black Canary locking him up. He's a Birds of Prey villain, so it would make sense.
That would make sense. That actually was a really cool scene too, especially for it to be right there at the beginning of the movie. Like I thought
with
that was
Johnny Cash playing over it.
Oh yeah,
come on. When I heard "Ladies and Gentlemen," my name is Johnny Cash, I said this movie's going to be awesome.
Well, let's get to the input this week. So this is coming straight to our Facebook Messenger. We Greg from we talked about him in I think it was our Black Widow episode. He had written in some stuff. He was the one that won one of our prizes from Comic-Con. He was the one wearing the "Be whatever you want, unless you can be a bear, then be a bear," or something like that. He wrote in and he said, I just watched the newest episode today and was surprised by the shout out in the Talk Nerdy section. I'm honored and also have a couple of things to say about the comments on my shirt. Laugh out loud. I, of course, wrote back and said, well, if you got comments, we'd be glad to hear them. Laugh out loud. Really appreciate you taking the time to watch the episode and keep up with us, my friend, the bear. And he then said, nothing bad, I promise. It just so happened that the shirt is one of my favorite shirts other than my shaman bear shirt. My nickname has been Bear since I was little, and I like bear stuff. Now, that being said, meeting another fellow bear is cool, and I wasn't sucking up to you. Laugh out loud. All in all, I'm glad I have the opportunity to meet you all at Comic-Con, and it will definitely be one of my favorite memories. Offer still stands. Offer still stands for helping out if I can, and hope to see you all again soon. Enjoying the first and only podcast I've ever been invested in, and all of you are awesome. And then the cool sunglasses emoji. And I said, thank you so much, Greg. With your permission, I'd like to share this exchange in an upcoming Talking Nerdy segment. He said, permission granted. So, Greg, much love, man. Stay awesome.
Much love.
Really appreciate you taking the time to watch the episodes and give us that feedback too. And for this week's episode, our question is, and we're going to go ahead and ask our two panelists this, but we want you all to write in and let us know, who was your favorite Suicide Squad member? And that is from both of the movies. You can write in those and tell us, like, if you have a comic book one, but for movie sake, who was your favorite Suicide Squad member? And we'll go ahead and answer that and have our guest host do that. We'll start again with Chef Mantis. Who was your favorite Suicide Squad member, brother?
Definitely King Shark.
King Shark? All right.
Yeah.
All right,
Jay.
Jay.
It's funny, like, if Sylvester Stallone didn't voice him, like, it wouldn't have been as funny.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I need the behind the scenes recording room video. I need to see what he did. Especially
I need to see Stallone going nom nom.
Nom nom.
No, that nom nom though.
Nom nom.
Nanawe, monster is nom nom.
That has the same energy as Hulk smashed from Avengers, and I will die on this hill. My favorite member, I would say Nanawe normally, but this movie cements something that I've had for a very long time, and that's that I've had a love for Rick Flag. You know, not many people know that he's a very well-rounded character in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I've loved him forever, and this is who I think he is. You know, the version from the last movie is nothing to me at this point.
Yeah.
I love Rick in this movie.
I love that we got to explore him more in this one as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's just a character. He's not some two-dimensional military hat. He's a person.
Yeah. Definitely. Bri, who's your favorite Suicide Squad member?
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport?
I love Idris Elba so much, and I love the suit. They didn't talk about it that much in the movie. It just kind of happened. He can summon that suit to whatever part of it he wants, anytime he wants. Like, there was the one part he just had the gauntlets and the helmet, because that's all he needed, and that was fine. He can have as much of or as little of the suit, and then he has those little packs all around him that become his weaponry. Whatever gun he can make out of it. An amazing arsenal, a deadly, deadly force to be with.
Yep, the tank top with the helmet is
and Idris Elba's
a lovely
voice.
Reference to his comic book costume, so I really appreciated that.
Guys,
and
I think
the xenomorph helmet is
the xenomorph helmet.
Impeccable. It's so good.
Idris's Bloodsport, definitely based off the xenomorph. And if you don't know what a xenomorph is, I'm gonna put a little soundbite in here for you real quick.
Okay. Did you ever see this really old movie, Aliens?
I think my favorite from both movies, actually, and I wish, now granted his character died in the first one, so I know why they didn't bring him back, but I thought Diablo wasn't explored enough in the first one. He's a very, very interesting character. I very much enjoyed him in the first one. I hated that he had to die. I think if they'd have rebooted him and brought him back, I thought it would have been cool.
David Ayer has been leaking some script for the past few days that got cut, and in the original version, he doesn't die.
Really?
He gets a cell with a ofrenda and all the pictures and candles. It's really, really meaningful, and Warner just, destroyed it.
They said they were done with it. Well,
Is that your favorite Suicide Squad member, or
from the movies? Yeah,
from the movies. Who would you like the most in Suicide in this one?
In this one, though, if I had to pick one just from this movie, I would actually say that I loved Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Harley Quinn was amazing.
Her finally getting to be the Harley Quinn that's after Joker, the after Joker Harley Quinn was great. I love that Margot Robbie finally got to do that, like we said, like Mama Bear pointed out in the fun facts, that we finally got that not over sexualized but still bad and deadly and
crazy
in her own little world, like the flowers.
She's
insane. She's killing people. Yeah,
even when
like,
she's
Javelin
getting into
just
the
died.
taxi cab, you can see them in the building. The flowers are still back there. And, she finally gets that beautiful costume in the first 5 minutes, and then she never wears it again. And I think that's my one complaint about the character.
She's in her own little world. And they even did the attention to detail at the end when they go off mission and they start running, and she reaches down and like tightens up the boots. Like, I was just playing around earlier. Now I'm going to actually do something. And she like pulls the boot up and adjusts it. And then she starts running.
The javelin is for.
I love the javelin scene where he was giving it to her and she was acting all meaningful until he was died. And then it's like, for a second, we thought we had like the sympathetic maybe, but then it's always like, for what? For what? You didn't tell me what this is for. What's going on here?
What's with the javelin? I'm waiting on God to tell me.
Yeah.
So insane. And
Jesus Christ, or him, or any of them, whatever. Yeah, the whole, I love that. Like, she definitely was in her own little world most of that movie, and I loved it.
You die.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's going to take us out of our Talk Nerdy segment, so I'm going to play that outro music there.
Be sure to send in your response to this week's Talk Nerdy topic, and any other nerdy stuff like episode topic suggestions, fan theories, or cosplay photos so we can put it in future episodes. If you think it's nerdy, we want you to share it. The Talk Nerdy links like the email and website are in the episode description as always. And don't forget, you can also call or text the Nerd Line. That number is in the description as well. That's all for now. Let's get back to the show.
All right. Well, I guess that's another episode done. Guys, really appreciate y'all being here to talk with us about this, and look forward to having y'all on episodes in the future. And I guess it's time to just go ahead and get out of here. We got another one in the books. So I've been the Bear.
I've been the Beard.
And that's been Nerd Squatch and Chef Mantis. And we really appreciate y'all being here. Check us out next week. We are talking, well, not next week, but next episode. It's either going to be Letterkenny, Karate Kid, or we had one other one planned, but so it's one of those.
A few things in the books.
Or Stranger Things. Yeah, we have a bunch of them.
Stranger Things will probably be coming up.
So yeah, it's going to be one of those. But definitely, we'll be back for those. But in the meantime, we want to remind you, as always, to stay awesome,
stay bearded,
and much love, guys. We'll see y'all next time. Until then, we are out of here.
And now it's time for Sergio Hates Everything. This week's topic is the Suicide Squad.
Hey, everybody. I'm back. It's not like I've just stopped hating everything. I just needed a break. Get off my jeez. So there's a new Harley Quinn movie out. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Suicide Squad. Because obviously, we all know that all of these movies, all of these DC movies with Harley Quinn are just a reason to put Harley Quinn in a movie. Like, it's not even that much of a secret. She's one of the most popular comic book characters to walk the earth, and Margot Robbie is the right person to play it. So let's throw a bunch of stupid-ass villains together and call it the Suicide Squad. Yeah, the Suicide Squad. There's no other way to... There's not a better way to throw that first movie completely under the bus than by distinguishing this new one as the Suicide Squad. Not a Suicide Squad or Suicide Squad 2. It's the only one. And the first one was bad enough. We're not talking about that. This new one. Like, if the only characters that you have, like, the compelling characters that you're going to trot out onto screen are a white Hawkeye, a black Hawkeye, a crazy girl, a girl that controls rats, and a boy that controls polka dots? Oh, and a talking shark? you may be out of characters. You may just be out. Like, start recycling this shit. Give us a Green Lantern movie or something, because, come on, man. His power is polka dots. Come on. Like, the only thing that I really liked about the movie was King Shark. Like, the fact that he could eat any of them at any moment was kind of thrilling. Like, he was simultaneously the coolest thing in the movie and the most disappointing, because he didn't eat any of them. Like, had this movie just ended with King Shark mauling the fuck out of, what's his name, Deadshot, Deadpool, Idris Elba. If it was just, the end of the movie was Idris Elba getting eaten by King Shark, and then John Cena going, oh shit, and running, that's a 20 times better movie. I don't know. Like, I want to give DC the benefit of the doubt. It's getting very hard. Come on, man. Give us a real character. Make a Flash movie. Make a new... Well, they're making a new Batman. But give us the good characters. No one gives a shit about a shark. No one gives a shit about Rat Lady. Okay, I'm done. Give us something good!
This has been Sergio Hates Everything. See you next time.
The views expressed here by Sergio are not necessarily those of the Bear, the Beard, or the rest of the Bearded Bear team. If you would like to share an opinion about this segment, please tell us your thoughts using any of the provided Talk Nerdy to Us links in the episode description. For more of Sergio's opinions, go check out realitybreach.com, link also in the description.
All right.
Another episode done. We hope you enjoyed it. New episodes are released every other Friday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Check back then or subscribe so that your device downloads it automatically. Audio episodes are now available pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts, so it's really easy to share us with all of your nerdy friends. For YouTube viewers, subscribe and click that little bell so you're notified about new episodes. And Apple users, please don't forget to rate and review on the app. Rating and reviewing helps more nerds find us. Lastly, a huge thanks to the rest of the Bearded Bear team. Head researcher and graphic designer Mama Bear, Master of Marketing Han Brolo, and all of the geeks of the Roundtable and friends of the cast. Thank you all so much. I'll get you next time, nerds. Until then, stay awesome, stay bearded, and much love. Bye!